Before we dive into today's episode, we want to remind you that the views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and guests and for educational and entertaining purposes. The Professional Homegirl Podcast is here to celebrate the diverse voices, stories, and experiences of women of color, providing a platform for authentic and empowering conversations. There will be some kikiing, some tears, but most importantly, a reminder that tough times don't last, but professional homegirls do. Enjoy the show. Y'all, me and this lady been kikiing and cracking jokes, and she has already got started. I'm feeling so inspired. So I am super excited about this show today. My guest is an Emmy Award winning documentarian, author, international empowerment speaker, coach, developmental workshop trainer, and facilitator. She will be sharing her story on how she overcame childhood trauma and how her pain led her to her purpose. To my guest, how are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming on the show. I told you this already, but your story is beyond inspirational, and I know that our listeners would be so encouraged to keep going no matter what. So before we begin with your story, I want to know your thoughts on why do you think no one ever believes children when they say somebody is doing something to them?
I truly believe a lot of times the people that the kids are telling, whether it be parents, so a lot of times they're victims. They're victims. I find it to be that they haven't dealt with their own issues, because this is a secret. And it was a secret when I was a little girl, and believe it or not, I do this all over the world. It's a secret. You don't tell anybody. You don't talk about it. It's shameful. You can't say mama did this, papa, uncle, the church, the pastor. So a lot of times it's not dealing with your own trauma. And a lot of times it's a cycle. It happened to mama, it happened to grandmama, just shut up. This is what it is. You'll get over it. What you're talking about it for. And that's it. So a lot of times, especially if it's the parent, the mother of a child who has this man, we don't want to mess up what we got, or it's I don't want to believe it because then I have to do something about it. Yeah. And right now I'm selfish. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to believe my man. You know what I mean? My brother, my son. And a lot of times it's just hiding it somewhere. And that's what usually happens to childhood trauma. That's why I am opening up this center in Atlanta.
Come on now.
That is going to be for later women in later life like myself. We get 18, right? We get 25, we get 30. And we don't realize that we got all these self-destructive behaviors, promiscuity, dating the same kind of man, right? Staying in intimate daughter relationships, staying in toxic relationships, just being stuck. Stuck because our childhood trauma has never been resolved. And don't you dare talk about it now.
Right.
And we can't go to the dinner table and bring it up. We can't go to family cookouts, right? And
what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Yeah. You can't, uncle, you have to go and see your perpetrators because they're your uncle or they're your, your brother, and don't you dare say nothing about it. And so we keep that silence, that shame buried because we got to cope, right? It's a coping mechanism. And for me, it wasn't until I got in my 30s and I started to think about what happened to me as a little girl. It was when I turned 30 years. It was my birthday. My birthday, here I am getting ready for my 30th-year birthday. And the epiphany that I was turning 30 with nothing. Section 8 house, 2 little boys, single, selling, jail, shoplifting, temping here, there, hanging out here in these streets, in the clubs, done. No education. 2 little black boys. What's going to happen to them? um, I had to save them. I had to save my two sons. I didn't even know how to save myself.
Right.
I didn't even know that I thought I was cute. I did these streets, cat suits on, looking crazy. And, thinking I'm baller because I got the biggest baller on the block. And, we wearing Gucci and, and Versace and, and thinking I'm cute, and it was ridiculous.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I was getting ready for my 30th year that I realized, wait a minute. I'm supposed to have something at 30, right?
Right.
And I got emotional. And that's when the reality of my abuse, my years of abuse, my sister and my male cousin. I had the most ugliest cry that a woman could have. I sat on my bed and I looked in the mirror. I never forget. I get emotional when I talk about it. I never forget the gut feeling of failure. If I had never been broken, I was broken. I was stuck. I never knew what love felt like because my mother never loved me, so I didn't even know nothing. And I remember having this pity party. This snot cry. With snot coming out your nose, and I remember walking through my little yellow Section 8 house. And I walked in this room and I opened the door and here were two little black boys. 12 years old, I think about 5 years old. And I looked at them and I knew I had to do something. I didn't know what, but I knew what I was doing. I had to change. I honestly remember packing up my house for Georgia, getting the biggest truck I can find to move. And I remember looking in the rearview mirror when I was driving to Georgia 20 years ago, March the 5th, 2002. It was raining, it was cool, it was cold. I was in this big moving truck. I was scared. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew where I was leaving.
Right.
You know what I mean? Had $10 to my name. But at that point, failure was not an option. So it was going to be a better woman, going to find self-love. Self-love. It's amazing what self-love will do for you, girl. I'm telling you. Listen, some people can't even take all this sunshine over here. She's just too much. Somebody come get her.
No, y'all, she is hot, good energy. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like,
oh yeah, this is
amazing.
Every day. So
yes,
imagine a dose of this every day.
Come on now.
Why? You know why? Because when you decide that you want to live, that you're not going to let the world, you're not going to let your abuse cripple you, stagnate you, set you down, keep you broken.
Right.
I chose to fight. The whole world told me I couldn't. You can't go to school. You Ebonic, you lie. You can't be a doctor. You can't get a PhD. I remember going to Harvard University. You can't go to Harvard. You can't apply to be a doctor at Harvard University. You from Alabama. You from the ghetto, the gang, the dirty South. You dropped out of high school. You have a felon background. You done, honey. You got scars all over your body. You ugly. You can't do this. And I remember fighting the system, fighting the stereotypes, fighting my family, fighting people that. But look at me today.
Come on now.
I wear my tiara unapologetic.
Come on now. And she looked good, y'all.
I have to tell people all the time, sister, baby, you don't know where I come from. You have no idea. You have no idea what I've been through when I been tied up, choked, beaten, had syphilis at 5 years old. Sat in the closet with no food just because I woke up. sat on the porch in the winter, naked, because I peed in the bed, came down with pneumonia, yet I still couldn't tell anybody my secret.
Did you feel like you couldn't tell anybody your secret because you felt like no one cared?
Because I had 3 men telling me they was going to kill me.
Which were your uncles?
You better not tell nobody. I had a mother, if you watch the documentary, who didn't love us. Who do you tell? Like, and just the fear. We were violently sexual assaulted. Nobody groom us. We didn't buy us gifts and,
Right.
because we was beaten, choked, chased down, drugged, tied up to chairs. It was brutal. It was brutal. And the only thing that saved me, the only thing that kept me alive mentally, was I wanted to be Wonder Woman. It was 1975. We didn't have black models.
Right.
TV was black and white, right? With the knob on it.
Right.
And I wanted to be Wonder Woman. I would get up every morning on Saturdays, and Saturdays to me was going outside at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting good cold. We had to wash our clothes in rubos. We didn't have wash machines, And so all I want to do is see Wonder Woman turn around. I just wanted to see her take her glasses off, and turn around and spin. And I used to get my grandmother's white sheet, and I put WW on. I would go outside and spin around and around, because she was a thing of beauty to me. And I had to be Wonder Woman when my grandmother got ready for church, because that's when my uncles would tell us, we're going to get you when Mama get ready for church, when Mama leaves. So I have to put my sheet on to be Wonder Woman. So my sister and my boy cousin, it just broke them. My sister died last year, tragically in an accident. But she was a victim when she died. She never could get over the abuse. She never could get over my mama not loving us. And she was shot and shot.
When I was watching your documentary, and I was just like, oh my God, like I got to get your sister on the show. Because I'm like, I know so many women, including myself before I started my healing process, could relate to the feelings and the pain and the anger she was feeling. So when I went to your Instagram page, I was like, oh my God, like she passed away. So do you feel like she ever got the peace? Yeah, right?
It makes me cry because my sister was my hero. And if you read my book, I go into more details of how my sister saved me. So many times my uncle would come get me. She'll say, take me. But I couldn't save her. I couldn't save her for the 30 years she struggled on crack.
Right.
Being 80 pounds, shot, stabbed, sleeping outdoors. I couldn't save her. She wanted my mama to love her. She wanted, all her life, she was, the problem child. Nobody breathed. Nobody heard her. And if you get my book, she has her story in my book. It's a whole section called Sister. But you got to get Tisha, because it's a teardrop. And she told this story before she died. And I put it in her words. And I mean, I remember the editor telling me how she had to take a break, the editor, because she couldn't stop.
It's a lot. Yeah.
But she died a victim. And so what I'm doing in Atlanta is I'm opening up a cafe style center called Sonya. Her name is Sonya. And I'm naming it Sonya. And it's sisters overcoming years of abuse. Sonya. Sisters overcoming needless years of abuse. Sonya. And I'm dedicating it to all of us. And I want this to be a place where the Sonyas and am I right, can all come. Because it's 1 out of 3 women that's been sexually abused before the age of 18. 1 out of 3. And let me tell you, I do this all over the world. And when you got 7,000 people standing up giving you a standing ovation, and I leave them sometimes, and I say, I want 1 out of 3 of us stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could see, it's like dominoes. It's amazing. One person standing up, 2 people sitting down, amazing. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And so many people still can't say to me, they'll come and tell me that's my story, but they're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ready to talk about it. And so I want to be the inspiration. Am I right? I want you to look at me and see, this is how thriving look, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is life after abuse. Did you see her?
Right.
Is this what loving yourself looks like? Yes.
And telling your story.
Yes. This is what giving you permission to tell your story. That's why you are not doing this. We want to give you permission to know that you can thrive after trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think that your grandmother ever knew what was going on?
She did. We told my grandma one day we was outside playing. And we was fighting about something. We like, oh, we better give to them. I'm gonna tell we've been doing it. Because we called it doing it when we were little. That's right. What we did. And my grandmother called us in and said, what are y'all talking about? And we said, hey, I've been doing it to us. And and I remember my grandmother making us strip down naked, and we got beat naked with switches. Yeah.
So when did the abuse finally stop?
The abuse kind of went on throughout, my uncles, my mom moved us at the house around maybe 1st grade or something like that. But I remember around preschool, let me start around 4 or 5 years old, kindergarten, my mother we finally moved at the house, but we would still go there in the evenings, like for aftercare.
Right. After school and stuff.
My uncles were still there for that. I remember one of my uncles going to prison for rape. What else? And we moved, and my uncle got out, and of course came to our house. My mom was drinking and in the room, drunk, whatever she was, and me and my sister in the bed, and we watching him take the doorknob off the door to come in to get one of us, and it was me. I remember my sister telling him, "Give me back my sister." So it kind of died off, but my mother would have different men. She dated. I think the last time I was 16 years old. My mom had a boyfriend, a man. At that time, I started having my door locked, closed, because I was 16. I always been shapely. I always been shapely, little waist, big. It's always had a body.
Right.
And I was always made to feel something wrong with me because of my body was, and I was in a bed sleep. This man came in my room. I could feel a hot breath. He was on his knees.
Because he'd been drinking. You could
breathing
feel it.
over me.
Right.
And I could feel his hands touching over my breast and, just touching over my body. And I woke up screaming. This man looking at hoovering over me. And I remember screaming, Mama, screaming. And I remember this man just being erected. You know what I mean?
Right.
And my mama came in the room and caught this man. And she hit me so hard till I fell on the floor. And she put me out. With no clothes, no shoes, and nothing. Told me, bitch, this is my man.
Right. I feel like my mom was very abusive towards me. And I think what hurt the most is not what she did, but what she said to me. And I feel like when I was watching the documentary and y'all was having y'all conversation, or she was telling her side and your side, and I feel like it was the same thing for you. Like, it was some of the things that she said, and it was just like, damn, like, do you feel like it was some of the things that she said to you that was more hurtful?
Yeah, the emotional abuse, definitely. Even at 53, I will never forget it. I just remember things like, I wish I never had you.
Right.
Bitch, I should have killed you.
Right.
I should have flushed you down the commode. My mother was, I think, besides the sexual abuse, my mom was my big emotional abuse. She beat us with stitching cords and You know, my mother never loved me, never told me she loved me, never hugged me.
Same.
It was horrific. And I look back and wonder how could you do that to somebody you birthed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And having two sons of my own,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had to break, those cycles. Like, I had to do something, I had to change something.
Right.
My mother on that documentary, I wasn't there. The producers went to Birmingham by themselves and got her to say that. I was shocked.
Mm.
You know, I remember, I think she said she was sorry last year, believe it or not. But at first she went on it. Like, she said, I didn't know these things would happen. My sister said, yes, you did.
Your sister was not playing with her.
My sister didn't play the piano with her. My sister was ready to fight every time.
Right.
She could, my sister was angry and hurt and broken. And I think they did the documentary so amazing because they showed two sisters, you know what I mean, who went down the same path and showed how abuse adversely affect you and impact you and you see what happened to us. But my mom finally said she was sorry. And I can't tell you I can't say it made a difference. I wouldn't say it didn't. But what I'm grateful for was being able to heal without that, if that makes sense. Because sometimes you're not going to get it.
Right.
You
Facts.
may not never get it. Am I right?
No, you're right, because I never got it.
And you may not never get it. And so I know you may understand where I'm going with this. I think I got to a point in my life when I wanted to pray for her. I literally did, because I felt like this was a woman who, whatever her daddy did to her, she said she would rather die and go to her grave with it. That's how much pain she carried. And so how can you love two little girls when you can't even love yourself? So a lot of things about my mom, I look back at now and thought, this woman she wasn't able to love her. She wasn't able to say she's sorry.
Right.
Because when you say you're sorry, you got to own it.
That's you admitting to it.
And to sit, I mean, she couldn't even listen to me and my sister telling her this story. And listen, we didn't cut out no middle. We told everything vividly. And I do that when I'm on stage. You know why? Because I don't want to dress up abuse. There's nothing pretty about it. Am I right? It's not pretty about it.
At all.
And so I don't want to dress nothing up. This will happen. This is my story. And she still can't hear it. And she'll still deny some of it. It's amazing.
No, I'm laughing because I know exactly what you're talking about, because the person between us is my little sister, and it's amazing how people forget. And I'm like, was I in this by myself? Like, how do y'all not remember this?
You know why? Because you have to put it somewhere. You have to put it somewhere so that you can wake up every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes you tuck it away so far back because it's that painful. It really, really is. And that's why it's so important for us to tell our stories so that we can help, our sisters. We can help them become aware this happened to me. And even if it's done secretly, at least it's a start. Am I right? It's a start. And so doing this podcast, it's going to be another way, because people reach out to me all over the world. You wouldn't believe the letters I get. Little girls who write me. People, I think it was 7 boys from Japan. Can you believe it? Japan wrote me letters. They watched the documentary. Their teacher showed it to them. I flew to Japan.
Come on now.
To meet these little boys. Because we can't talk about it, sister. We got to be about it.
Right.
This is a movement, and we got to be about it. Those little boys wanted to see me. They wanted to read my book. They wanted to meet me. And I flew there. $1,700, my own money. To Japan. 17-hour flight. I got there. And so I get letters from little girls who said, if we can meet you, and you're my Wonder Woman. So for me, how can I reach people that can, afford for me to coach? Or how can I reach young ladies who said, can you mentor me? Or how do I tell my story? So that's the reason why I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing a training in Atlanta because so many people reached out to me the documentary you saw and the segment you saw, and say, I'm too ashamed. It's too painful. I want to tell my story. I'm afraid. I want to write it. How do I start? So I'm doing a 2-day training. I'm putting it together as we speak.
Right.
So that I can help you or help them get started. And I'm saying this to say to you is because if we want to help healing, we have to help by being an example.
Fact.
Am I right? Because you and I both know you can't tell me nothing if you ain't been in my shoes.
Come on now.
You can't tell me how I should feel if you ain't never been abused. You shouldn't tell me to get over it if it ain't never happened to you. I am 53 years old and I'll never get over it. I'm so grateful that I know how to fly, how to spread my wings, how to heal. But you never get over abuse.
Right.
But my job is to help you heal, help you thrive, help you become better. Am I right? Help you be beautiful and wonderful. That you can do. Am I right? That you can be. And your abuse can be an opportunity to use that to turn that thing around, girl.
Facts.
That's the beauty of it. I got to say this to you right quick. You're going to love this. So I went to speak and I met my soror. I'm a Zeta. And my soror said, are you in the sorority? And I said, no. And that became a Zeta. And she called me and she said, God chose you because he could trust you with pain.
Oh, wow. That was it right there.
He didn't choose Sonia because Sonia has got so much pain. Am I right?
Yeah.
He chose you to tell this story from birth because he can trust you with pain and transparency. And let me tell you, I couldn't stop crying.
I know.
Nobody had never told me that. And I want to say to you, sister, today, he chose you because he can trust you with pain. He can't trust everybody with pain because this thing is painful. You know what I mean? This thing is painful, right? This thing takes people to the grave, baby. People leave here every day because I'm a therapist. People come sit in my chair every day and say, I can't live. I want to die because it's pain.
Right.
And so I sit there and I have to thank God every single day for giving me this journey, this healing, so that I can help this sister. And I can look on her face and say, not today, baby. Not on my watch. You're not going to do it.
Right.
Stop whining. Let's get up and go. Let's do this. You are beautiful. Sometimes I have a mirror that my clients have to go to. I said, come on, let me show you who you are. And so we have to work on it. Stuff. I have a 12-step. You would love this 12-step. In my book, it's a 12-step. I do it all over. It's called a 12-step to self-awareness. It's like a AA, a 12-step for women like myself who was lost, who was self-destruction, who didn't know where they were going. This 12-step talks about how I left Alabama to today. Each step talks about how I done it. And so that's what we have to do. We have to create and implement. Am I right? Shows, podcasts, you know what I mean? Books, videos, things that the gifts our little girls. Let me tell you something. We got to save our little girls. I go to high schools. I can't even tell you what I hear.
Yeah.
The hardest population that I have to speak to is our young girls. A lot of times I go back to my hotel, I can't even sleep. I get on my knees and I just pray, say, God help me. Because I got to go back tomorrow and talk to these little girls. These little girls who's telling me secrets that they can't tell nobody. These little girls who's coming here close this door telling me I don't know how to love myself because my mama boyfriend is touching me every night. These little girls coming in saying, you so beautiful. You my Wonder Woman. I know how they feel because I met Linda Carter. I met my CEO in live in person. And meeting this woman to sit in front of this front row seat and to see this woman spin around.
Mm.
And I remember sitting there, this probably been a few years ago. And I got a chance to speak to her like very quickly. You know, you can't keep, you know how they are.
Right.
And it's on YouTube, Lisa Shiro. And to tell this woman that she saved my life, to tell her that every time she spin around, I spin around, to tell this woman that I stand on stages every day to spin around for my sisters who can't find the strength to keep spinning. And that's what you're doing, sister. And that's what we have to do.
Right.
Because this thing right here that we fight every day, nobody know I struggle but us.
Right.
Am I right?
No,
Nobody
you're right.
knows I struggle but us, sister. And it's here. But you know the beauty of this thing is you get back up.
Every single time.
And you straighten up your tiara. And you help another sister straighten up her tiara. And you take your power back and your life back. You know? And let me tell you, your girl ain't missed a beat in 20 years. This girl, when I left Birmingham, Alabama, I ain't looked back, sister. I've been climbing. I don't even know what to do myself sometimes. I look in the mirror and be like, woo, Beyonce girl, move over.
I'm telling y'all, she don't look her age. She look good. She look good.
You know why? Because I refuse to roll over and die. I refuse, sister, to let my tiara tilt. I refuse to not love, to not even be respected. I got boundaries. And if you don't respect my boundaries, if you don't add to me, you are expendable. Expendable, actually. And you know why? Because people will take your peace.
Man.
And when you set out for 20 years to love yourself and to take everything that the devil has stolen from you, you don't let nobody steal it from you. You don't let nobody take your peace, and you don't even have to explain it. Joy, 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 joy. You know that old song, they got joy, joy in my heart. I can't even tell you the last time I felt angry, or the last time I let people bother me, or the last time I let what people say. I can't even tell you the last time I felt that way, because there's so much sunshine that is blinding me.
Come on now. Come on
Am I
now.
right? It just, you ever wake up and go outside and the sun just kisses you on your face? You know? Oh, sister.
So wait. So what happened to your uncles?
Well, one got killed. I remember being a little girl. One got killed. He was I think jumped on the girlfriend, and the brother blowed his brains out. One died of a heart attack. And then I think a few years ago, the last one just died in prison for rape. He was in prison, I think, 30 years. He died. And they're all gone.
Wow.
And a lot of people say, oh my gosh, they didn't get the punishment they deserve. But they did. They got the punishment they deserve. And you know what? I don't want to spend the rest of my life resentful. I don't want to spend the rest of my life. I got things to do. I got places where I got women to save. So you learn to forget, you know, and people get upset with me, especially the church people. They get upset with me because they tell me, you're supposed to forgive. The Bible says forgive. And my answer to that is, this is my story.
Right.
This is my journey. And right now, my forgiveness for me is a road under construction.
Talk about your journey.
I'm still on the altar working on that.
Right. Talk about your journey. Talk about your journey with forgiveness.
Well, I started out, I have to be honest with you, I started telling this story. It's a lot of pain. I didn't practice. I didn't sit me in front of a TV. I did the documentary in 2009. I didn't practice. They came to my house with a camera and said, let's go. My first time ever talking about it was in front of a camera. Can you believe that? And so everything that you saw in the documentary was the first time. So the pain of my mom not loving me, the pain of my uncles, the pain of this self-destruction for me. It was I was hurt. I wasn't as angry as my sister, you know. But because the documentary came on TV, won an Emmy, I was kind of thrust into this speaking thing. Can you come here? So to be honest with you, I think it was when I watched Precious. I won an Emmy when Precious came out. The movie Precious came out. I was going to Hollywood actually to talk about doing my movie, and Precious came out, and I went to New York to meet the PRs, and they said, "Let's go see Precious." And I went to see Precious, and oh, I never cried so hard in my life. I couldn't even walk out the movies. And I think that's when, like you said, the journey of what I was doing hit me. Because I sat down and saw this story, and it was so much of my own, like you just said.
Right.
And so number 2 was when I wrote the book. When I wrote my book, that's when the pain. There were days I couldn't write. Things in this book you didn't hear in a documentary. Things in this book I was ashamed of. Things in this book, brought me to, some days I couldn't write at all. But I'm grateful that God reminded me, you're not writing this for you. You put that back in there. So there's a lot of shame that I had writing this book. Not abuse shame, just as a person, things that we do that we're not proud of. There's some things I told in this book I haven't told anybody, period, in my life. So I think those were the two parts of my journey that was painful. But when I started dealing with my pain, I dealt with it. I allowed myself to cry. I allowed myself to feel hurt. I allowed myself to be angry. I allowed myself to feel resentful. I allowed myself to cuss out loud. I allowed myself to say, this happened to me. Am I right? This happened to me. I allowed myself to do that. And that was the best thing I ever done for healing. And to own it, to stand in a mirror and say, look, this happened to me. This uncle did this to me. This happened to me, and so today, when you see me now, I can talk about it like I'm eating dinner. Why? Because I made peace with it. It doesn't define me. It's nothing to be ashamed about. When you release your silence, I can't even. Woo! You know how you go to church and see somebody do the Holy Ghost dance?
Right.
Girl, this thing right here, this thing free you. You can smell stuff you never thought you could smell again. You can walk outside and you see the birds chirping. You can hear birds singing. It's such a freedom. It's like taking a douche.
Right.
Seriously. It's better than a man. It's better than your children. It's a love that's so special. But now it takes work.
A lot of work.
Am I right? I'm 53 and it's a constant work. It's every day. Am I right? Because there are some days that the storms come, baby. Am I right? The sunshine ain't always here.
Right.
Okay? So there's some times that I feel that hurt. I still feel it. Sometimes I feel that resentment. Sometimes I want to call my mom and say, why you didn't love me? Sometimes I am hurt sometimes. Sometimes I don't want to talk to my mama. Sometimes I ain't calling for months. I do. I'm telling you the truth. But I'm okay with that because this happened to me.
Right.
And so then after I go through that healing process, then I can tell you how to do it. That's why I do this for a living. Somebody asked me, do I believe in therapy? Absolutely. I come from the ghetto, the streets. Well, no therapy. Who go to therapy?
Right.
You go to Jesus and pray. You get a scripture.
Right.
Am I right? That's supposed to take care of all that. Go to Jesus and pray about it. This thing right here, need more than prayer.
Facts,
right?
Mm-hmm.
This abuse and trauma, it messes up your mind, your body, your soul. It guts. You know how you gut a fish? This thing guts you. You bleed out.
Mm-hmm.
You bleed out with this here. You don't know how to love. You don't have good relationships. You pick bad partners. You have bad circles. You have bad energy. You're mad. You're broken. You got all kind of health problems.
Facts.
This thing will cripple you, honey. It would take your life. You would die a victim, and your perpetrators will live. They will have cars and mansions and houses, and you will be mad and broken. And am I right? And the person that hurt you and raped you and touched you and beat you and broken you will still live good. And you will protect them. Because we will allow the shame to silence us.
What happened to your boy cousin?
My boy cousin got married, girl. I'm gonna say he went to prison for murder. He got on crack. My sister got on crack. He went to prison. I think he's been out about maybe 4 or 5 years. He got married and had another baby. I don't know what he had another baby for. I think 3, but he had another baby. But I think last year he had a stroke and a heart attack. And this is what abuse does to you. It stresses you. It wears your body down. I'm trying to get him, I'm gonna see, can I get him to do your show? Because imagine him being a boy and it's happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know his entire story. But I'm encouraging him to tell me.
He should.
Because he had a horrific story of abuse as well.
And the fact that y'all witnessed it, you and your sister.
Yeah, I sat in the middle. All 3 of us, my sister, me, and my boy cousin. It was a little bitty house, and to see your cousin, a boy,
right?
Being penetrated, tied up, it was horrific. We were stripped down. Had our hands bound, our feet bound. And I remember sitting in the middle and being so numb. I'm thinking about Wonder Woman.
Right.
And I remember these 3 men. I remember them showing us porno magazines, and they were smoking weed and making us smoke. And I just remember, the ejaculate, just horrific things that we had to bear. And I remember I couldn't even cry. I couldn't even fight. My sister was a fighter. She would fight him, and they'll choke and punch her until she passed out. And I would beg her, Sonya, please don't fight. Just lay there. And I lost my sister when she was on that floor at 5, 6 years old. It took her life from her. She never came back from that. So it's important for me to keep her voice alive. That's why I do this every day. That's why I get up every day, because I know what trauma does to us. And I'm so blessed to have walked, to have walked, and to have survived. Out of all 3 of us, I'm the only one that mentally survived. And I can't die. I can't die with this story.
Right.
Am I right? I have to.
You got to keep telling your story.